Hello, WebWingers. Welcome back to WebWings, episode 9.
9. I can't believe
9. I know we're on a run. So,
it. Yes.
Alex and Andy, here with you again for your weekly regular slice of e-commerce pie. It is delicious and profitable, but Andy and I are both feeling a little bit unwell. So, give
Yes, we
us
are.
a little bit of slack this
And
week. And
this is now attempt number 3 today because my microphone has decided that it's not going to work.
And the first time we were interrupted by Andy's doctor ringing us.
Yes,
So,
yes.
and not us collectively. I don't do doctor's appointments.
You don't go to my doctor, so it'd be a bit weird if you came with me.
It'd take ages to get.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna bash through it. Give you our best, and hopefully
what we've got left, you have him.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
So it's been such a week since the last one, though, haven't it? We've been we were going to go fortnightly, and then we had a really good week last week with the one that we recorded. We were like, actually, we'll
really
give the people
week.
what they want.
It's made everything else pale into significance. How well the last episode was received, and then people have been listening to the previous ones as well. So it's all going down pretty well.
Exactly. So today is a case of give the people what they want, obviously,
and what they want is us,
and that's a really strange concept to us.
All the advice that we give, it's one of the two.
It's clearly working, yes.
We're going to be having a little bit of a chat about going back to basics.
Yes.
And hopefully, if you've listened to our previous episodes...
we recommend that you do.
We definitely do. You'll have got an idea of the things that we think are important. We don't particularly want to go over old ground, but at the same time, maintaining a strong, up-to-date online presence does mean keeping things fresh. Andy and I have both been in the website game for a while now, and what we see often is people getting caught up in the excitement, and once you get immersed in the detail, end up overcomplicating things without meaning to, or just abandoning some areas that are mundane or perhaps less popular.
That's right. We've talked to you fabulous WebWingers. It's caught on, hasn't it? That.
Oh, definitely. People have adopted it.
People have adopted it. People are clearly going to be putting it in their email signatures and everything these days.
Stop calling for merch.
Yes. We need some merch. We perhaps shouldn't call it merch, should we? We're a bit old for calling it merch.
Yes. Nicely embroidered, logoed handkerchiefs.
High quality. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's not just band t-shirts these days. No. Anyway, we've talked to you. I'm going to cough. We've talked to you about enough about making sure that all the content is there, that it's worth taking a tiny step back now and making sure that the very simplest bits have not got lost in the melee of detail. Some of this might be a little bit like going over things we've covered before, but hopefully it will serve as a trigger to just check these bits out as a regular review. Have you got a contact form that works? Do you offer contact information on every page? Is your details in the footer, for example? An email address, a phone number. They're not just place fillers. Links to social media accounts, anything like that. It is just that little bit of extra. And have you perhaps got some images or graphics that you've now sort of got since you first created something, or something that you could perhaps use just to spice things up a little bit?
Yeah, exactly. And yes, people these days are scared of picking up the phone because there's more convenient ways to communicate. And
yeah, I don't like phoning.
No one does anymore.
No.
And I get why it's more convenient for people to.
Yeah, definitely.
You're not going to get inundated as a business. There was a bit of a movement, say 5-6 years ago, where a lot of e-commerce businesses actually started taking phone numbers and even email addresses off of the pages. It became quite hard to find contact information.
It did.
And businesses would say, well, I don't want to be answering the phone all day, or I don't want to spend all my day answering emails. I just want people to come online and buy.
Yeah.
Well, that was the reinforcement that people were going to actually purchase, because they know that they can get hold of you if there's a problem. They know that if they've got a question, you can answer a question before they purchase. And it did actually for a good few years. A lot of my time with new clients was taken up convincing them that they needed to put a phone number on the page or a email address. You can even get services these days that'll answer the phone for you. Not giving a plug that we run one as well. But
virtual assistants out there.
The point is that it's such a huge reinforcement. Make sure that there's a good method of contacting the business on each page. If it's in the header and the footer and whatever, it's not just idly filling space. It's really useful to have.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is probably really worth reinforcing, and it is something that gets forgotten quite a lot, if you've got a booking system or a contact form, they're quite often some of the first things that go in, or they're some of the first things that people will add to a site once you've got a site running.
Kind of priority.
It is a priority, yeah. And then people forget about it because they go about their business and it's, well, there's a contact form on the site or that links into the booking system.
Yeah.
Please make sure that you check it regularly. Please make sure it's productive for you. Do you
make sure it works?
Feed in? Yeah, make sure it works. Do you have it feed into something that you use? Do you have it feed into a calendar that you can see if there's a booking system? Does it give you the right tricks? Does it send an email or a text or whatever? And are you actually checking those? There are countless stories from my career alone where the amount of times I've seen really very good, very well installed, very cleverly configured and really useful and in some cases expensive systems leading to total dead ends. And the amount of times I have taken on a new client with an existing website and conducted a bit of a review and gone through and found that they have a contact form system that they have never checked the messages for or the email inbox that it leads into. I remember one probably only a couple of years ago now where I took on a new client and I went through with them, was going through with it at the back end with one of them, and I said, is it all right if we clear out these messages? All these, they look like they've probably been dealt with now. And the person I was speaking to said, what messages? I said, well, these 74 messages that are sat in your contact form inbox for inquiries about your business, the 74 messages that prospective customers have sent you. Where do they go? Oh, well, they go to this email address. We don't look at that email address anymore. Well, they're also available in the back end of your website. Well, we don't really check that. So do you want me to delete them? Perhaps if you delete them and then don't tell my business partner about this. I was in charge of this. But the amount of stories I've got like that where, okay, it might not be 74 messages, but there's things that just don't get reviewed. Oh, do you know what? I haven't checked that for a couple of months. I'll go and have a look. Oh, well, there's 4 clients in there that were interested in talking to us.
Yeah. And now they're talking to somebody else.
It's something that people will often put in, and it will be a priority for them at some point during the process, and then it'll just get forgotten about.
Yeah.
And that's a real shame. So that's one thing. If you have it on your site, even if it's comments on a post, a lot of people turn comments off because you get spam. If you don't have the comments turned off, go and check them, especially if it might be spam, because you're going to want to delete those. It doesn't look good having loads of spammy comments on there. And similarly, sometimes you will find that someone has left a genuine comment that is well worth your time as a business responding to.
Yeah, exactly. And this has all reminded me of a story of where I worked during lockdowns. And I worked for a company that did home delivery services and in-store services. They used to produce a catalogue, if that makes it a bit clearer as to who it was.
Now, a laminated book of dreams?
It was a book of dreams, yes. The book of dreams with the little pencils and everything else. And our store was a decent-sized store. We were one of the bigger ones in the area. And we had 2 phone lines. One was public-facing, one was internal. And the public one rang upstairs in the upstairs part of the warehouse in a very little dark corner that nobody ever went and nobody ever answered. And numerous times if I was working upstairs, I sort of said, what is the phone that's ringing? And we go, yeah, we don't answer that phone. That's the public.
Or we don't want to talk to people.
Why don't we want to talk to people? Yeah, they're only going to ask something stupid.
Well, yeah, like how to buy a product.
Yeah. Or do you have this? Because they can't get on the internet.
Yeah.
No? I was like, oh, no. No, they'll call the contact center instead. I said, that's great. They've got to know how to get to the contact center. What number do we list on Google? Oh, this one. Well, there you go then.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've ranted. I'm sorry.
No, it's reviewing all of those things, and again, it comes back to a very good point that we made in a previous episode. Check that those listings that you've got online, go through, search for your business, see what numbers and email addresses come up, and if they're not the correct ones, get it fixed, because if you found it, a customer could find it.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, so if you're taking payments, do you have a system that works right, or the right system that works for you? Have you had comments about it maybe being awkward, or that you only accept one kind of card payment? Or I don't know, that people would like to use PayPal, or the increasingly popular Klarna or ClearPay.
Yeah.
Things like PayPal are probably a really good example. Many people are really happy with it, but you will find some people out there that just do not want to use it.
Absolutely hate it. Yeah, there are so many people that refuse to use PayPal.
It's the same as we've talked about before with the delivery companies, where you'll change your mind about potentially buying with somebody because of who they've partnered with.
Yeah, and it was again, it was more prevalent previously, but say 4 or 5 years ago, there was a real reluctance for some people to use things like PayPal, and it was a nice, simple system to integrate back then, and you'd quite often find sites that either had PayPal and nothing else, or nothing else, and it'd be quite linear. They would either have the one or the other, and we'd get to a point where, well, perhaps we should just offer it. Oh, well, but then people might use it. Yeah. That's
kind of the idea.
They might buy things from, or taking PayPal off. Actually, in some cases, in some markets for higher end products, it actually increased conversions, because there were, I would say mistakenly, people with the idea that it meant that a website was less secure. Thankfully, much more widely adopted these days. But again, if you're only offering one type of payment system, or there are restrictions on your payment system, or there are even things that you can do to work with your payment provider, then look at those. Yes, more. It does mean a little bit more, perhaps, when it comes to having to account, or you've got money coming into different places. But I think people will generally respond to having more options these days, because it's much more likely that there's something that they are comfortable with.
Yeah. So if you've got articles or blog posts on your website, please make sure they're up to date.
Yeah, I'll never stop going on about that one.
No, and make sure that they're in English, and you've not just copy and pasted some ChatGPT, something that's in American. Because if you're an English website and you've got Zs everywhere, then people are just going to go, no. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my voice during that one. No. Oh, I'm going to cough now again, aren't I? Anyway, if it's more than, say, 8 weeks since the last one, the last blog post or article or whatever you've done on your website, you may as well just consider that to be dead.
Yep, it's done.
It's gone. Google's gone, no, it's not updated. That's probably
still dead. Very useful, but it's not new content.
No. If it's better to sit down and write maybe 3 at a time, and then schedule them to go out over the next 3 months, maybe, then do that. Try not to overcommit to something doing once a week. Look at us with the podcast. We turned around and said we made a decision together last week that we'll do fortnightly, and then here we are, overperforming.
Overperforming as always. Andy,
yes, always. We always overperform,
like but
we never underwhelm.
It's nice to be on top of things for a change.
It is,
and
even though we're dying.
Yeah, look at us. We're really impressive. Even when we're ill, we're here giving the people what they want. And the blog and articles, I know everyone will say, well, I don't have time to sit down and write them. That's the point. If you do just have some time at some point, bearing in mind how much of a struggle it probably was to come up with that, or getting the mood to sit down and write, if you can write 2 or 3 or 4 and then schedule them, it's a lot easier. Don't at that point start to overcommit, because again, if you look back through websites that have got blogs, you'll see they go months and months without posting, and then they'll post one a week for 7 weeks,
couple of
and
weeks,
then it'll be 3 months before the next one, then they'll post one and whatever. Just consistency is the key, and it's not just an arbitrary thing. It's not saying, oh, it looks really good to have it all the dates lined up. It's not that. It's about gaining momentum, the momentum that you'll get from all the various ways that sites get indexed and the different search engines, the consistency of having a schedule around it. If you get to a point where you've got them scheduled, then you can go even one better. You can look at, when it is right. And again, that's probably something that we'll cover in a later podcast, because let's get you on a consistent scale first.
Coincidentally, we had an email yesterday from our podcast provider about burnout and the desire to stop doing it after a certain period of time. Somebody's done 9 years of podcasting and finding it harder and harder to actually get excited about doing a new episode. We don't have that problem. We love talking. But,
do we?
Oh yeah. We don't short, do we?
We haven't yet.
No. But the same thing applies to blog posts. And if you're going to make the effort to start it, just schedule some time in once a week, once a month, write 3 or 4, get them done, have them out there ready and scheduled, and you'll feel much better about it.
Yeah.
And if you start to get writer's block, sorry, I'm going to talk over you because I can. If you start to get writer's block, I've mentioned ChatGPT for something else. Ask it for some help, just to prompt you into potentially what to write. Don't ask it to write it for you.
No, please don't do that.
It can give you some pointers, and you can tell it all about your business. It will listen like a human, because that's the whole point. And then it will give you some. Well, I think you should do this. And actually, realistically, what it gives you to do is probably quite sensible.
Yeah, and I know that everybody is all over the AI at the moment, and I don't want to go too far off topic, but I had a good client of mine come to me last week and ask me why their latest products were so vastly underperforming compared to everything else. And I said, oh, no problem, I'll have a little review for you. And I went through the product descriptions, although they were well structured in terms of the visual layout of everything. They had the right number of words. All of the keywords were there. They did not make sense. They didn't make sense. They were jumping all over the place. It was worse than this podcast. It was jumping all over the place, back and forth between various points, and it was just making up facts about the materials that were involved and things like that. So yes, I understand as a business you are very interested in making sure that you're adopting the latest technology and making sure that you're being as efficient as you can and saving money, because $20 a month on a ChatGPT subscription is far easier than paying a copywriter. But it had an immediate negative effect on the ranking of the product. And if you're not actually tracking that kind of thing at such a granular level, you're not going to know about the impact that that's having. It was quite lucky that it's a client that looks after all of their products and all of the information.
Makes an effort to review how they're doing.
Exactly. Unfortunately, that effort wasn't replicated in making sure that the products had well-written descriptions. To the immediate scan, they looked all right. And then you go through and it's just, you can read it, you could probably understand it.
But it's not human.
It absolutely tanked because there's no way that was written by a human. And that kind of stuff is starting to get negatively marked down at the moment. I did go off on a tangent there, and I want to try and introduce something to people in the same way that we said people should look at their content, take 20 minutes or a week to pick on the content. Start from now, once a month, just pick 3 pages from your site, or 3 of your profiles if you do social, or 3 of your product listings, and just have a look at them and ask yourself, if they're good enough. And that's not necessarily being cruel. It's, would they give new customers or people who've never looked at these products or pages before, or your business, does it give them what they need? Have you reached that level of e-commerce nirvana? Can you see a call to action? And if not, can one be added?
Yes.
Would the page it's on be giving enough encouragement leading up to the point that they're there to mean that people would click on that call to action?
I hate that word. What phrase?
Anyway,
we'll come back to that. So following on from that, let's make sure that the place everything is leading to has every little bit of information they need as well. So what I try and say to people, and I've done it recently this week with somebody, is let's say the person has landed on one page from Google and it's a product page, does that page give them everything they need to know, or are there prerequisites for them to actually purchase that they won't see? And if there are, then they need added. Simple.
And that call to action can simply be that. It can be, here's more information about the kind of thing that you're reading about on this page. It doesn't have to be a spend money now. It can be here's some really relevant information about what you're looking at that might help you to understand a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's anything other than a button that just says contact us and it still leads to your contact form, then I'm afraid you're just failing at life. I need to rethink what you're doing.
100%. You click on something that says, whatever it might be, more information, etc.
Yeah. If it says contact us for more information, that's fine. If it just says more information and it goes, yeah, fill in your details. Oh, no, not doing it. Go away and leave. Anything can be, and I've got to use the phrase again, a call to action. Well, I hate the term. It could be a banner or a link to invite somebody to sign up for more information. As long as it works, it doesn't make whoever is trying to use it feel like they're trying to get blood out of a stone, or that maybe it's a massive inconvenience to them to actually fill this in. And if you've got your analytics set up, which if you've listened to the other episodes, we've told you before, and I'm sure you will have, through either Google or Bing or both.
Takes 5 minutes, go and do it.
It's free, just do it. The amount of information that can be stored in the background for when you suddenly need it is impressive, to say the least.
Yep. Don't even have to look at it. Just set it up, and then one day when you want to come back to it, you'll think, oh, look at all this.
Exactly. And today is that day. You've got all that data now. Go and pick the worst 3 performing pages that it says on there and go and give them a bit of a cleanup or a spritz.
Yeah. And we know that nobody likes looking at the less loved pages of their sites, and that is entirely the point here. When you did them, or when you got a developer to make those pages, it's, oh, well, okay, that's all right. Those aren't the main focus. That's why they're the main focus for you today. If you can get a little bit of spit and polish on them, and the search engines will see the one thing that they like to see more than anything else. And what is that, Andy?
Oh, sorry, we're talking to me.
Yeah.
That's improvement, Alex.
It is improvement, Andy. Well done. And that's exactly how you, as a business owner, can earn your brownie points of internet wonderfulness, which is what gets you ahead of the competitors. Because it doesn't matter what you sell or what your page is about, just make sure it gets a little bit better. Doesn't matter how often you do it, as long as you're doing it. Because with time, the search engines will see how you're actually caring about the content that you put out, that you're making sure that things are relevant, because stagnating is never good for anyone. It's
not. And it is a phrase that we use a lot. It's pointing out to people how stagnant their content is.
Yes.
And I actually can't say the word properly because I'm a cold.
No.
Stagnant, not snagnant. Anyway.
Snagnant.
On that note, I think we've given you enough to think about for today, especially seeing as we're both really dying. Instead of listening to the melodious sounds of our voices, go and spend some time. Oh, this is definitely time to go out. I need a drink.
Go lie down.
Yeah, I need to go and spend some time thinking about what your customers see and when they come to your online offering, and just try and make it better.
A little bit better.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit of effort. You'd be surprised at how far it goes.
Just occasionally have such an impact.
Yeah. So on that note, we've been Andy and Alex with WebWings. We love you, our very special little WebWingers, and we will see you next time.
Tatty bye.
Bye-bye.